WNST, Towson Boulevard Bank, as well as our friends at Cole Roofing, where on Thursdays we are doing our charity and community series. We'll start it all off with Van Brooks, as well as our friends from Casey Cares, and telling more good local stories around here. They got a good local story going on down in Houston, Texas. If you've been watching the Orioles down there this week, you'll know opening day means hanging banners, second day means giving out rings. This guy was there to chronicle all of it as one of the sports enterprise writers, which means he gets to have the fun job in the sports department of writing all the good stuff. He's down at the Houston Chronicle, and you can follow his journey out on Twitter, where there's a wonderful picture of him and Steph Curry trying to figure something out at some sort of practice. He is Hunter Atkins, 35, out on Twitter, and we welcome him in for his maiden voyage here to talk a little Astros baseball. But, man, it might be the Rockets might be the bigger story down there right now, right?
Oh, without question in sports, they're, we already know how good the Rockets are, right? The Astros still have to prove if they can have a good shot at repeating this year. Yeah, the Rockets are the best team in the NBA. The Warriors still are looming, but with all the collection of injuries to Curry, Klay Thompson, Durant earlier in the season, we'll see if that wear and tear really affects the inevitable Western Conference Finals.
Well, on the baseball side of things, it's been a few months, a little cool-off period, I guess, after winning that championship in that sort of fashion. Some thoughts about all of it in retrospect, and then saying, well, they're probably a better team right now. I mean, they couldn't boast about having Verlander and Cole this time last year, and most people thought they were pretty good even in July before the pickups happened.
Absolutely. And in addition to the two guys you mentioned, versatility is something that is a luxury for this team. They spent, A.J. Hinch, the manager, spent a lot of spring training playing guys at different positions, batting them in different orders, having all the catchers catch all the pitchers, because, he knows that injuries will be the only thing that could derail this team from winning another championship. It's not for a lack of talent or want. So, the roster is much better, but also they've enhanced each player's skill and versatility to a degree that is really impressive and improves their chances even more than I think people might know.
Around here where the owner pretends that he's a small market owner, even though he's taking all the money from two franchises, we hear things about how to build things the Astros way now. There's a whole way of doing it from the ground up and doing it with young talent. I mean, this isn't reinventing the wheel, but you then have to identify this talent, draft this talent, attract that talent, coach that talent, and have a lot of things go right to have this many guys sort of blossom at the same time. The Cubs had a little bit of that going on 2 years ago as well.
Yeah, I mean, the part that might be reinventing the wheel is the idea that you're going to lose in order to win. The Astros lost 100 games in 3 consecutive seasons, and it worked. It got them top draft picks, which then, once those guys blossomed at the major league level, it then motivated the general manager, Jeff Luhnow, to surround them with complementary veteran pieces. So if that's what the Orioles want to do, they're well on their way to losing. That's for sure.
Well, and then you go out and you spend money on Alex Cobb late in the market or pick up a Cashner. In the case of the Astros, there was this notion that they were the small market team and didn't have a lot of money and all of that. Cole and Verlander, that adds something, but it also says to the fans, well, we're not just trying to win one around here. We're trying to be something here while we have Altuves and Springers in their prime. That this year, the notion you go out after you win and get better, I'll buy into that. That's certainly something that I think Astros fans haven't seen a whole lot of in off seasons, right?
Well, no kidding, yeah. No, and it's a testament to the kind of fear of regression that the front office has felt or is aware of, right? Like, we wonder, I'll give you a fun stat. The previous 5 World Series winners, those teams by the following All-Star breaks were either barely above 500 or much worse than 500. So I don't believe in the cliche of, quote-unquote, a hangover, but regression is a real thing. So many things have to go right for you to reach the World Series, to win the World Series. And the presumption that a team goes into the next season as a favorite is pretty hollow. So the Astros were aware of that to the point where the day after they won the World Series, November 2nd, Jeff Luhnow, the general manager, already started sending out texts to players and members of the organization about get your rest, because he already was thinking about how players will either, regress to their average, or, who knows what could happen over the course of the season. So that's what motivated them to get to work early and to even bolster the roster more with the starting pitching of Garrett Cole, who would be an ace on half the teams in the league.
Well, they said 3 opening day starters. I mean, if you're an opening day starter, you are the de facto ace, even if you're not an ace, by modern standards or whatever. But they certainly have stockpiled that. And I would also say, sort of maybe against odds in an off season here where it was hard to go out and get much of anything done. They were the one team, along with the Angels, and we'll talk about Ohtani and the obviously the Yankees. But there were a lot of teams paralyzed in the off season. The team that won certainly wasn't.
There's something that you just phrased as paralyzed. I mean, it very clearly was a deliberate choice by ownerships and managements to not pay players. I would not call that teams being paralyzed. They're teams that don't want to spend. They're teams that know they have a better immediate future if they're horrible. So, that would be a mischaracterization to call them paralyzed.
Well, we spent the whole offseason calling it collusion, but, I don't know that it'll go that far either. But certainly the offseason sets up some weird things for the Machado, Bryce Harper showdowns, and even Keuchel in the offseason, who's expected to get a lot of money. That's what Arrieta thought before, right? That's what Alex Cobb thought, right?
Right. Yeah. Now, Keuchel's a really interesting case, too, because he'll be the first player essentially groomed in this new Astros era to hit the free agent market with so much promise and potential. It was another reason why they went out and got Garrett Cole in the offseason, because Garrett Cole will be under contract for 2 more seasons. So in theory, if they let Keuchel go or they cannot sign him, they still have a pitcher like Garrett Cole.
Hunter Atkins covers all things Houston sports as an enterprise reporter for the Houston Chronicle. You can follow him at Hunter Atkins 35. That's 35. Is that Mike Messina's number? Is that the reason you went? Why'd you go 35? Yeah,
it is. I'm so glad you asked. It is. He was my favorite player growing up. I'm not kidding at all.
We're not making that up. Really?
No,
well, I just threw that out.
Favorite player.
Well,
absolutely.
I don't know any other reason why there'd be. I can't think of any other 35s other than like Frank Thomas. Maybe I don't know off the top of my head. You can follow him at Hunter Atkins 35 for Mike Messina.
I have a question. Is Machado moving to short? Is that something that anybody cares about?
I don't know that anybody cares about the Orioles in Baltimore, to be really honest with you. At the end of this, winning's everything, and they were good for a few years, and they're letting kids in for free, right? That's where they are, while other places are hanging banners. It's a very weird time for Baltimore right now, for the Ravens, for the Orioles, which is one of the reasons I'm calling all you guys down in Houston, because you're having a pretty good time down there right now. You've even got a quarterback who may be, through all of this, the biggest star in the city by the end of the year, right?
Well, don't hold your breath. That team is pretty stake-bitten.
Oh, well, they have been in the past. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about that, but he was the new sheriff in town for about 8 weeks, right? I mean, he took headlines away from the Astros when they were going to the World Series, right?
Yeah, well, Houston's always going to be a football-first town, but I think if you asked any fan, they would be immediately pessimistic and misanthropic to, just assuming that there's nothing that can go right for that franchise.
Well, they said that about the Astros for about 50 years too, right?
Fair enough. You're right. They did do that.
Thoughts about Verlander coming in and what that represented for that organization? Because I was not convinced that they were going all in for a player of that caliber and taking on money. The day that deal happens, are you shocked by that? It felt very un-Astro-like when it happened, didn't it not?
To be honest, I predicted it. So
okay.
I thought it was going to happen. I just thought that, the only reason it had seemed like it was not in the vein of the Astros was because they had not done it before. But it's all been part of a process that has escalated. It's all been a part of a trajectory. And at the July trade deadline, when they didn't do anything, the Astros, Dallas Keuchel was interviewed and essentially prodded the general manager in a quote by saying, it's one thing to be great, it's another thing to be legendary, essentially. Or we want to be great, we want to be legendary. And Jeff Luhnow, the general manager, never forgot that. That dug into him to the point where he still thinks about it and references it. So that a month later, on August 31st, before the end of the waiver deadline, they did go out and finally pull off a deal. So, they've been vigilant in spending money, acquiring players, giving away young players, but it's all made sense to me. I wouldn't be surprised if by the trade deadline this season, they also, make a big move to supplant whatever injury they're going to have. Inevitably, they're going to have, whether it's, needing to replace, even like a good starter in the rotation. They're unafraid. I'm certain of it.
Well, there's also a level of competition there. I mean, you ask about the Orioles, and I don't even tongue-in-cheek when I say, does anybody care that Machado moved to shortstop? I'm not sure that anybody cares they signed Alex Cobb, or that they would be competitive this year. We have, big issues here, but the growth of the brand of a team when you win a championship, I saw it out in Kansas City where everyone was a sea of blue. The Astros win. I'm in airports now, and I'm seeing the old Starburst come back and old J.R. Richard and Nolan Ryan throwbacks and whatnot. Is it real to you that the Astros over the next 3, 4, 5 years are going to be a team that's going to draw 2.5, 3 million people? I mean, have they moved the marketplace in their direction in that way?
That's a bit presumptuous. They have to keep winning. The truth is that Houston's not a great devoted baseball town in the same way that St. Louis or New York or Chicago, traditionally are. So there's no doubt that they being able to draw is entirely dependent on being able to win in this city.
Oh, that's almost every city, I would say, at this point. Hunter Atkins joining us here. Hunter Atkins 35 out on Twitter as well as at the Houston Chronicle. Interesting that the Astros win the championship and get shipped off to the dreaded Arlington to begin a season where they slap the Rangers around over the weekend. That much is real. I don't know that anybody outside of Houston or Dallas feels that rivalry in the way that you guys feel it there and going over to the Metroplex and whatnot, but certainly a lot of bad blood between the organizations. Now in the same league, now in the same division, and now with the Astros having a leg up, it's the first time in a long time the Houston people can run around and flex their muscles on those people up in Dallas, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been that way for 3 seasons now. It's sort of that not the rivalry, the tension got inflamed last year when during Hurricane Harvey, the Astros did not have a place to play against maybe the Mets. No, I can't remember who their opponent was, but they were just displaced and looking for essentially a neutral site. They wound up being forced to go to Tampa, but they asked the Rangers if they could use Arlington because it was unoccupied at the time, and the Rangers said no. Well,
isn't that's a friendly neighbor? I thought you all were in the same state there. I thought you had the same flag. You flying there? No,
that's what a lot of the fans here thought too. I mean, the Rangers. It's not worth getting into too much. There were some legitimate reasons why they did not want the Astros there. About the cost.
None of them humanitarian, I might add.
That is what left Houstonians feeling quite vengeful again. Going into 2018.
Don't get mad, get even. Have a parade. That's what I would do. Last thing for you on the basketball side. I guess the expectations are really up here, and it's amazing how quickly the Warriors can go from, are they going to win 72 or 75? Are they going to win the finals in 4 or 5 games? To, what the hell happened to the Warriors, right?
No. Let's slow down. This is a team that, for the 4th consecutive season, I guess it wouldn't be for that they're expected to get into the championship, but whatever. Essentially, they're going to get to the Western Finals. They probably will get to the finals still for a 4th consecutive season. It's really difficult to do that. And for me, nothing has changed about those expectations. I don't care how many guys on that team get hurt. So long as those guys have a chance to come back and play in the postseason, they still are the team to beat. I was talking to the general manager of the Rockets, Daryl Morey, a few days ago about, what kind of advantage mathematically do the Rockets gain from having home court? They're going to get they've clinched the 1 seed. And he said between 10 and 15%. I mean, 10 and 50% to win Game 7 against the Warriors, that doesn't sound like a lot to me. So, even that franchise. The Rockets still, are haunted by the boogeymen in Golden State.
Well, you mentioned, people being down on the Texans or snake bitten or whatever. It's nice to have a nice team, and we're near Washington. The Wizards have a nice team. Nobody ever thought they were going to beat LeBron, ever. And this year, it's a little topsy-turvy all the way around. I mean, this is the first year in a little while where, you can make a case for Toronto or Boston or Houston or a whole number of other places where it's really been hard to make a case for anything outside of Cleveland or Miami or Golden State in recent times, right?
Yeah, the East certainly is more open. No one could argue otherwise. But maybe I'm just a loyalist to consistency. But I still think that it's LeBron's conference, and that the Cavs, come the beginning of the postseason, will be the toughest team to beat in that conference. And I do think they will get to the finals. Toronto's definitely better, but I think that their record doesn't really reflect how much better of a matchup people think they would have against the Cavs. And for the Wizards, let's be honest, it would take an enormous amount of luck for them and bad luck for the Raptors and for the Cavs for the Wizards to somehow make a run. As beautiful as Bradley Beal and John Wall have been lately, it's just they need a lot more to beat those other two teams.
Dude, I can't believe you bring up the snake bitten thing. I'm a Caps fan, so I'm hanging on to the Caps as what I'm holding on to in April and May and June. You're holding on to the Rockets. At least you have the Astros. The Astros are going to be playing in October, right? You're not betting against that. You believe in the Astros this year is 90-95 wins, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, I think Vegas has them at more than 100. But
there haven't been a whole lot of Aprils around Houston where you're printing playoff tickets, literally, or even in your mind, you're thinking we're going to be that team.
No, they will make the playoffs without question. Plus, their division is not difficult. But looking beyond that, I certainly, I don't know. I guess I've seen so much baseball that I know how injuries can affect an entire season, really just unexpectedly or rapidly. So I'm not ready to say that they're going to repeat. And if they were to repeat, they would be the first team to repeat since the 2000 Yankees. It's kind of remarkable that almost 2 decades have passed without a repeat champion. That's how difficult it has become because of 2 wild cards and revenue sharing and all this stuff. So I'm not going to go that far. But, yeah, we could sleep through the next 7 months.
So give me the Steph Curry story. I mean, I'm not going to let you have this kind of a picture up on the front of your Twitter without asking about it. Is that Nowitzki on the right-hand side of that picture? It looks like the back of Dirk Nowitzki, but I'm not sure.
No, it's just another goofy white guy.
Another dude. Okay, yeah, another dude that looks like Dirk Nowitzki.
I was lucky enough a few years ago to do this fun media event. So I born and raised in New York City, and I did a lot of freelancing for years there. And as one of the activities, it was August 2014, maybe. It was right before the meteoric rise of Steph Curry and the Warriors. And we did this cool 3-point shooting clinic. So that photo that you're looking at where it looks like, what are we trying to figure out? We're trying to figure out how to shoot a basketball. For those of us that are surrounding Steph Curry, that is what we're trying to figure out. And it was obviously a lot of fun. And I lost. I did not beat Steph Curry in a 3-point contest.
This is not shocking to me, Hunter. I don't know much about you, but I've seen pictures of you, and I just don't think that you're going to beat Steph Curry in a 3-point shooting contest.
That's okay. That's okay. I've lived a great life, and if I get to finish it, having said I even tried to take on Steph Curry, the greatest 3-point shooter ever, I'll die happy and proud.
You know, it's an incredible thing. My wife's had her life saved twice on the bone marrow registry. She's a leukemia survivor, and part of the long story short is that the guy that saved her life from Germany, he loved Dirk Nowitzki. I went on a mission about a year and a half ago when he came to America for the first time to introduce him to Dirk Nowitzki, and Mark Cuban played along, but the Golden State Warriors played along as well. They were playing the Mavericks, and we were out there, and the Warriors said to the dude who saved my wife's life, he's a 6'6" big German kid, they said, sit right here for pregame, and Curry shoots his threes from right here. This is the best seat. And they took him down on the floor and sat him next to where the rack comes out with all the balls, and Curry sat 18 inches away from the dude that saved my wife's life, just draining threes from 40 feet out again and again and again and again. And it's one thing to see it on TV. It's another thing to sit there and watch it from 5 feet away, and it almost looks like a card trick, right? It almost feels like there's something rigged about it, like a Copperfield act or something, right?
Well, if you're trying to say he's a carnival act because he's so small compared with the other players, that's on you.
Just the shooting. When he puts 14 three-pointers in a row in front of you and looks like he's not even looking at the basket, it's a little spooky, to be honest with you. That's a little weird for me.
Well, sure. I mean, that's why these guys are such natural, beautiful talents. I still say that the detrimental ramification of Steph Curry is every kid out there that cannot shoot that now is acting as if he can shoot.
Well, I mean, we all did that when we were 12. Come on. We all shot too much from too far away. We all watched a little bit too much George Gervin or, a Mark Aguirre or somebody that never passed the ball. Dude, a pleasure to have you aboard, man. Safe travels to you as you go along the Rockets highway here and get ready for the Astros and the Texans and all that good stuff. Appreciate your time, Hunter. Thanks for coming on, man.
Anytime. Have a good day. Thanks, man.
You got it. Hunter Atkins, 3'5". The way to find him. Why 3'5"? Mike Messina. That's why. I didn't even know that. I was just making that up. You can find him out at the Houston Chronicle as well. All of our WNST coverage brought to you by our friends at the Maryland Jockey Club. The Laurel entries now on the front page at WNST.net, as well as in our morning newspaper that ships directly to your email inbox each and every morning at 7 a.m. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. The Buy a Toyota.com audio vault is there for anything you miss here. Day after day, mobilely from anywhere in the world, including Houston, Texas. You can listen to our programming. Download the TuneIn Radio app. You can listen live from anywhere in the world. It's all brought to you by BuyAToyota.com. Last but never least, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.